For more analysis, we can speak now to Aniseh Bassiri Tabrizi, who is a fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, who joins us from London. Thank you so much for joining us. This deal took 18 months of hard work by the Obama administration and also America's allies. Where does today's announcement leave that deal?
Well, first of all, this deal actually took more than 12 years to be reached. It's true that the last 18 months were the ones that were more intense, but the negotiation on this deal actually started in October 2003. So we are talking about potentially unraveling something that took more than 12 years to reach. Now, with where we are now, with what Trump has said, of course, we are in a situation that it's very dangerous and very precarious. We knew from a few weeks ago that this decertification was likely to happen, so there was not much surprise about that. However, the general tone of the speech of Trump was very aggressive, and he also said that should the Congress not be able to find a solution to address the flaws of the deal, the US will de facto withdraw from the JCPOA. So that, of course, is something that puts all the other signatories in a difficult spot. They strengthen their commitment to the JCPOA. We saw a response right after the speech by Trump by the High Representative Federica Mogherini, stressing once again the commitment of the EU to implement the agreement, but also that the unilateral unraveling of a deal is not one of the presidential power of the United States.
Yeah, and just since we've been speaking, in fact, we've had Saudi Arabia come out saying they strongly support what they call President Trump's strong strategy. We've also had France, Germany, Britain putting out a joint statement saying that preserving that deal is in the joint national interest. But Donald Trump seems to think this is the worst deal in American history. What is it about this deal that he particularly doesn't like, do you think?
Unfortunately, the problem is not with the deal in itself, and that explains also why, despite decertifying the deal, he actually didn't withdraw the U.S. from the nuclear agreement and deferred de facto that decision to Congress because he couldn't find enough reason or enough violation, as he calls from the Iranian side, to say that this deal is de facto not in the interest of the United States. What is not pleased with is Iranian behavior in the region and activities which are beyond the nuclear deal, so the ballistic missiles and Iran activities in the Middle East. But the problem is that whereas the deal makes it very clear and the other signatories make it very clear that one thing is the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which limits and constrains Iran's nuclear activities, and another thing is everything else. The current administration has mixed the two issues. So the regional dossier, the regional issue, Iran's behavior on the ballistic missile, and the JCPOA are very much intertwined with each other. So we have seen the inability of the current administration to distinguish one from the other.
And just briefly, if you will, we know the Iranian president is going to give some sort of an address later on this evening, we think, although that's not been confirmed. Just what would you expect the reaction to be from Tehran to this much more aggressive announcement from the Trump administration than anything we've heard from Washington in recent years towards Iran?
It's difficult to say. Of course, on one side, the other signatories have confirmed their commitment to the nuclear deal, and Iran has been saying that they will continue implementing the nuclear deal. But on the other hand, the position in which Iran is put at the moment, 60 days until there is a decision by Congress on what to do next, is not easy. And we have also to take into account that Rouhani himself has been put under a strenuous pressure from the hardliners during during the presidential election and during the previous year for standing on the side of the deal and for broader engagement with the international community and the West. So it's going to be under tremendous pressure, and it's not entirely clear what the reaction of the Iranian administration will be to this speech. I would assume that at the moment the likelihood would be to continue to implement the deal, but again, like the interpretation that they will have had of the speech, which was very, very tough, it's hard to predict.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us. Aniseh Bassiri Tabrizi at the Royal United Services Institute in London. Thank you very much again. In other world news,